Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And welcome to another episode of the Lady Black Kaleidoscope Project. Yay! I've been gone for a few days, but now I'm back. So, yay for that. So, today we are going to be talking about how to be truly anti racist and anti bias. So these are just going to be my thoughts. I'm not an authority, but these are just going to be my thoughts about that because I know there's been a lot of talk and a lot of things about how, about anti racist. Not as much about anti bias, but anti racist because that is, what is really, if you're going to be anti racist, you have to do that first and then you can eventually become anti bias because we all have biases. Everybody does. And that's important to know. And so, there's actually a song, you can Google it. It's from the musical Avenue Q, which came about 20 years ago, and it's basically about the lives of like these grown up, like Muppet like characters. I think it was actually written by someone who used to work for like the Jim Henson Muppet Sesame Street type of thing. So of course I love anything with the Muppets. And it's this song. There's a song called "Everybody's a Little Bit Racist" because we all have biases. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about bias. So identity and bias, they're tied together in certain ways. It's important to know about them is that identity is intersectional as well, and bias is also intersectional. So what is intersectional? Intersectionality was a theory. It is a theory that was presented by Kimberly Crenshaw. She is a amazing black woman professor, and at like Columbia and I think UCLA, and she wrote this paper and she came up with this theory of intersectionality, basically saying it's like multiple forms of oppression based on identity, social identity markers, they all kind of intersect, like race, gender, class, whether able-bodied or not, different identities all kind of intersect, and from a person's identity or the way that either how they identify themselves or how someone else identifies them most likely will cause some kind of bias. And so bias is also intersectional, which is based on identity. So there's all different kind of biases. These are some examples. These are ones that you all have probably heard about: racism, sexism, classism. There's also colorism as well, which I forgot to write. Ageism, ableism, anti-Semitism, and then all these phobias: Islamophobia, xenophobia, homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, and fat phobia. There are more isms and there are more phobias that that are like colonialism or imperialism and different other kind of phobias. But these are all intersectional because, for example, I'm somebody who is, identify as a black, cisgendered, heterosexual woman who is from a poor background, and I'm fat. So I deal with racism and sexism and classism and fat phobia. So we all have different forms of identity. Those social markers, race, class, social, SES, socioeconomic status, whether we're able bodied or not, our sexual orientation, our gender expression, our gender identity, all these different things. So it's important to know that. But the top banana of all the isms and phobias is, I should drum, but I'm not going to. Racism. That's what we're all talking about. That's what's been talked about with Black Lives Matter and everything like that. Racism. That is through the lens that all these other phobias, it is the filter, that all the other phobias and isms go from. I know people may disagree with that, but I personally feel like that's the biggest thing. Everything is looked through that. I know some people in this country might say class, but it's really race. Everything is looked through that. You can be poor and white, but you're white, so you do get some privilege because you're white. You can have a disability, you can have all these different, you can be gay, you can be, LGBTQ, but being white protects you from some things. If you're a black LGBTQ or black something like that, or Latinx or indigenous person, you're going to have some stuff because of racism. But racism isn't just that. Right now, and for a long time, there is anti-black racism. And with anti-black racism, because even within communities of color, there is anti-black racism. We a lot of times black people get prejudice even within other communities of color. Kind of like with cultural, it's interesting because like it seems like everybody, not everyone, but a lot of people want to appropriate our culture, but they don't want to deal with the struggles of what it means to be black. I mean, I'm proud of being black. I love being black, but but there is one of the crap that we have to deal with is anti-black racism. So, so earlier this month, or earlier last month, I was trying to think of like ways of having to deal with my, I've had some issues with some of my interracial friendships, or actually a lot of them, and in some way, shape, or form, I was thinking, moving forward, how am I going to deal with white people? How am I going to deal with that? So I thought of these different things, and I kind of evolved, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was like, wow, this is not just applicable to me. This could be applicable to other people. So, and so I came up with this idea. This is my idea. This is, I think, my answer to how to be truly anti-racist and anti-bias is through this. It's called the Great 8 Against Hate is the hashtag. So you see all these things, they all start with the letter C, coincidentally. Actually, I wanted some things to start off with the letter C, but anyway, these are the 8: courage, commitment, consciousness, curiosity, conversation, compassion, conversation, creativity, and community. Now, courage, and you can't do the rest of this, the bottom 6, without the first 2. So courage and commitment. If you don't have courage, you're not going to be able to do anything. And anything against hate or any bias or racism or any of these isms and phobias, you can't confront them and face them without courage. You can't without commitment. You can't do it without courage, but you have to commit to these things because this is a lifelong thing, because you have to unlearn everything. We all have biases, and it's hard. It's a process to unlearn things because you have to really examine yourself and look at different things. So you have to be committed to it. You can't just be like, oh, in this moment because everybody's talking about it. But once, say when hopefully soon when we have a corona vaccine and, this moment passes, I think a lot of black people are very cautiously optimistic. We're hopeful that things will change, but we're cautious because, we don't want just to be temporary, this temporary awakening. We want it to be from now on. We want it to be sustainable. And these things are, I feel like, the things that you're going to need in order to be really sustainable, to be anti-bias, to be truly anti-bias and anti-racist. So I kind of think of it, I'm a visual person, so I like little drawings and stuff. My mom helped me actually come up with this concept of an umbrella. So the Great 8 Against Hate, it's kind of like an umbrella. And it's the stem, which is holding the umbrella up, as courage and commitment. And then you have the little spokes within the umbrella, the 6, which are consciousness, curiosity, compassion, conversation, creativity, and community. And they protect you from all these isms that are raining down on you. So it's important to kind of remember that if you just want to kind of a visual, it's like an umbrella, the Great 8 Against Hate, it's like protecting you. Ultimately, we want the sun to come out and get rid of all these things. And hopefully the umbrella, we should always have the umbrella because you only need to be prepared. But hopefully it'll, clear up. So over the next 8 episodes, I'm going to talk about these each individually, all these things individually, just my thoughts on them and just kind of how I came up with this. It just, and why I'm doing it and everything and what these things mean to me. So stay tuned. Please stay tuned. And, join me on this little mini journey along my kaleidoscope project. So these are my ideas. This is not the be all and end all, but this is just a starting point, and hopefully this will start a conversation. So I always end with a quote or a poem, so I'm going to end with this. You are a light. You are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Study the path of others to make your way easier and more abundant. Lean towards the whispers of your own heart, discover the universal truth, and follow its dictates. Release the need to hate, to harbor division, and the enticement of revenge. Release all bitterness. Hold only love, only peace in your heart, knowing that the battle of good to overcome evil is already won. Choose confrontation wisely, but when it is your time, don't be afraid to stand up, and speak out against injustice. And if you follow your truth down the road to peace and the affirmation of love, if you shine like a beacon for all to see, then the poetry of all the great dreamers and philosophers is yours to manifest in a nation, a world community, and a beloved community that is finally at peace with itself. That was spoken by the late, great Congressman John Lewis, who just died. Rest in peace and power, sir. And thank you for all that you've done to inspire all of us in this country, in the world, to, build that beloved community. And it's us. You are leaving the onus is on us as a human race to carry this. So thank you for that. And this is my little part, hopefully, of the great 8 against hate. And so join me on this journey for the next 8 days and or 8 episodes. So remember, keep on keeping on, live out loud, and embrace your kaleidoscope soul, because I know John Lewis wants you to, and everybody wants you to. So have a great day, everyone. Bye.